Title: EU lawmakers say yeah, nature is cool. With green light to the nature restoration law. TLDR, European Parliament members made a bold move and said, "Oh, hi nature, we see you." They passed the controversial nature restoration law, despite some political drama. Fine Gael said no to their political group's efforts to kick the law out. Now, it's all green lights ahead, with EU countries required to restore 20% of land and sea areas by 2030. But hey, not everyone's happy. Independent MEP Mick Wallace called the final legislation a shell. Ouch. Legal disclaimer: this article does not provide investment, legal, or environmental advice. The information herein is for general informational purposes only. Let's rewind the clock a bit. Yesterday, Greta Thunberg, everyone's favorite climate warrior, was at the front lines of a demonstration outside the European Parliament. But wait, she wasn't alone. Climate activists were rallying with her, hoping to make some noise for the nature restoration law. That's when things got really interesting. Fine Gael, the Irish political party, decided to pull a little rebellion stunt against their group, the European People's Party, EPP. With all Irish MEPs voting against rejecting the law, and 5 Fine Gael politicians also pitching in, the attempt to nix the law failed. Was this a brave new world for climate politics, or just political maneuvering at its finest? Fine Gael's Sean Kelly was like, "Nah, I can't vote to reject this law." He sees Ireland's biodiversity crisis firsthand and knows the impact on farmers and fishers. But wait a minute, there were amendments to this law. The Parliament voted on these changes before approving a compromise version of the law. All about that balance, right? With 336 votes in favour compared to 300 against, the law is now off to the final round of negotiations. Green MEP Grace O'Sullivan shared the mood of the moment, stating, "The nature restoration law is now an inevitability, and this is nothing short of a win for every person and place on the whole continent." But was it really a win for everyone? According to the Parliament's lead negotiator, this law doesn't block the development of renewable energy infrastructure or harm food security. Yet, independent MEP Mick Wallace called out Fine Gael for supporting amendments that, he believes, about the legislation. The revised law would require EU countries to develop national plans for restoring 20% of the EU's land and sea areas by 2030. Sounds good on paper, but with critics like Wallace calling the final legislation a shell, one has to wonder, is this law just a pretty face or a true warrior for the environment? So, here's a question for you, dear reader: are these lawmakers the champions of the planet they portray themselves to be, or is this just another political charade? And more importantly, is this law the solution we need or merely a well-dressed compromise?